Christ and Disciple here. Good afternoon, everyone. Or good morning, or good night, whatever time it is by you. We're going to talk a little bit about Restore the Snyderverse Free Palestine, but I have a very short window to cover this in. So we're going to try and cover as much as we can in a very short time. Let's get into it. So be following on Twitter. So we're going to cover first Restore the Snyderverse stuff. First of all, really cool to see RoboCop's team here. We see them. This was 1987, and there they are in a reunion back in 2023. That's really awesome. Let's get on to some other stuff here really quickly. So this is really nice. So I just want to show you this GIF right here. And in slow motion, DC Fans United is really cool. They really do some really great GIFs. And that is just awesome right there. Let's get into some Restore the Snyderverse stuff real quick, and then I'll get into some other stuff afterwards. Lots of stuff to cover. Lots and I mean a lot of stuff to cover when it comes to Free Palestine. But I'm gonna try and keep that separate for the moment. So there's a bunch of stuff to talk about when it comes to Zack Snyder's take on certain things. This is again just another GIF. It's really awesome. Look at this. Oh man, look at that. Look at that. That is just, I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. The visual effects on these things are just so dope. All right, I thought this was really cool. Depending on your perception of it, this could look like Wolverine or it could look like Batman. You can see the two Batman faces facing each other. Batman the Cape Crusader is going to be really cool. It's going to be on Prime. I highly recommend it for anybody who needs to see it. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a second. You can also see this is Wolverine's head. So I thought that was really cool. Is it Wolverine or is it two Batman? That's really cool right there. Just a little stuff for the fans. Let's run through this. There's a lot of Free Palestine stuff. Sinner House, who I follow a lot, he said, I actually remember losing my mind when I saw this in I Am Legend. And then, of course, he lost his mind when it was in San Diego Comic-Con when they broadcast that it was actually doing it. So, that was really awesome. A lot of excitement back then. There's not much excitement for DC now. Come on now. Come on, Twitter. You got to help me out here. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff I got to say about Free Palestine, but we'll get to that in a minute. There's a lot of Free Palestine stuff, but I do have stuff. Come on, goddamn. Okay, let me see what's this about. Okay, so without saying Batman v Superman, what is your favorite Ben Affleck film? This was a lady named Sophia NX, and of course, Brad Curran said Zack Snyder's Justice League, which I also agree with. I think that I know Ben Affleck has done Gone Girl and Argo and a bunch of really good films, and some films that won Academy Awards. I'm not just great. Live by Night, just he did a lot of good stuff. But I think the stuff that we really broke him into fandom and his biggest money making stuff was with Batman, whether it was BVS Batman or Zack Snyder's Justice League. Which leads me to say we need to make the Batman movie. Having seen that Batman the Cape Crusader is coming out, that Terminator Zero is coming out, I don't see why. I mean, those are animated releases and series, but nonetheless, I don't see why we can't have Ben Affleck as Batman come out. I just don't see it. I don't see why that can't happen. So I've been pushing and crusading for that. Make the Batfleck movie, and it's such a demand for that. It's such a demand for that sort of thing that I really would look forward to seeing that. Let's see here. What do we got? We got. Okay. Some news on Rebel Moon. So Rebel Moon is coming out next month, August. The director's cuts particularly, and there's been a lot of comments on how much the director's cut is so different from the cuts that we saw before. So I'm really looking forward to it. The people who've read the novels on it, good for y'all. I'm not trying to get spoiled on that. Based on the Arclight and how the Arclight was so poor with Disney, Rebel Moon really is much better than the Arclight. It's much better than any Star Wars franchise right now, except for maybe Rogue One. Maybe the Mandalorian series. Those were two really good ones up to that point. But Rebel Moon to me is better than that. Even the stuff that we saw. So I'm looking forward to that. And of course the social commentary and so on that was on it. There's just so much content on Palestine right now to actually on Earth, but we'll get to that sometime. I'm trying to get to a bunch of other things right now, but it's going to take a little while to get. Okay, this is just Snyderverse says, sucks that this shit gets made and the inspiration behind all CBM media right now doesn't get to continue. Restore the Snyderverse, Um, I gotta agree, Henry Cavill Superman should be there. And I'm gonna say it, forever. Jack put out this photo of Henry. We talked about this already. Just a little commentary on that. There will be no good future for DC and W. I know we said this already. We covered this already, but I'm surprised that we don't have uh, Batman the Cape Crusader somewhere in here. I thought I bookmarked that. That's fucking stupid. I don't believe it. Well, anyways, what the fuck? I don't believe it. I swear to God, I bookmarked Batman the Cape Crusader. So where the fuck is it? Man, this really pisses me off. It really fucking pisses me off because I know I bookmarked the shit. The fuck is going on? Scroll all the way down. See if I can find it. It's got to be somewhere around here. What the fuck? I thought I bookmarked T2 as well. The thing. What the fuck, bro? That's crazy. So all this fucking Free Palestine shit, and I don't have that. What the fuck, bro? Well, all right. Okay, so this is really pissy, really fucking pissy because I only have 4 more minutes. That's some bullshit. Cause I swear to God, I bookmarked that shit. The fuck. Anyway, Batman the this is some bullshit. Batman the Cape Crusader. Get the fuck out of my face. Batman what the fuck? The fuck, man? What the fuck is going on? Okay, anyway. Batman the Cape Crusader. Batman knocks down goons. He knocks down like 3 goons that was about to shoot him with his car, sideswipes them. And people say, "Oh, look at that. Look how hypocritical people are." Batman here, he looks like he's killing these goons. And, in BVS, they were going in on Ben Affleck's Batman. Truth be told, I don't think he killed the goons, but the point is that I think that he's very brutal. That's the thing. Batman's always been very brutal. Sometimes it's better if the goon died than the injuries that they have, because sometimes Batman, like you said, sometimes he damages you so bad you have to breathe out a straw. Internal injuries really bad, broken spines, broken, you know, limbs, damaged hips, all kinds of shit, that can hospitalize a person for life, concussions, it's just Batman's brutal, man. And that's what a lot of people don't realize, how brutal Batman is. Sometimes first degree burns, guys survive and stuff, you know. And in the DCU brief adventures with Superman is being manipulated by Brainiac. He's turning evil. He also has the Superman suit, the modern, more new 52 Superman suit. With, Henry Cavill kind of rocks that kind of version. So, you're seeing a lot of signs. Like I said, Terminator 2, not Terminator 2, Terminator 0, the movie where I guess the future, the Terminators take over. That's all, again, cool. That's going to be on Netflix. You're getting more hardcore comic books, less restrictions on the comic books and the animated film. And Again, the animated film seems to really take it up a notch, but the live action doesn't mirror the animated films, and that's terrible as usual. Of course, they're outsourcing it. James Gunn's actually going to be monopolizing, the characters with creature commandos and that kind of bullshit. But you can see they're outsourcing this version of the characters because the demand for that is there. You can't just kill that demand and try and do something else. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. And that's why Restore the Snyderverse is necessary. Even if you outsource to Restore the Snyderverse, maybe it's on, Universal or some other place. All right. You need to have the Snyderverse there because that actually balances things. Mind you, Matt Reeves and J.J. Abrams, they're the producers for Batman the Caped Crusader. Of course, the people, Bruce Timm is the guy that actually does it. And there's less restrictions on it. It's more hardcore. And I like that. Listen, I think that you have to pursue when it comes to DC, you have to pursue what the audiences have come to expect and to be comfortable with DC. And that's what Warner Brothers, who never make up their mind on anything, they always go back and forth. That's what they need to understand. You have an audience, a tremendous audience that wants to see what DC normally produces. Okay? If you want to do your experimentation with DC, see if you can map with Marvel and all that kind of stuff, you can do so. But you shouldn't disenfranchise that huge audience that comes to see DC for what they expect. And that is what these people just don't get. Okay? And time after time after time, they're going to learn very painfully that Zack Snyder's the dude to do that with a universe. And even if you don't want to replace James Gunn, you want James Gunn's Superman to still be going forward, whatever, fine. Again, I'm not going to cover James Gunn's Superman. I see some people that are constantly covering what James Gunn does, and I'm not into that. I'm not a hater. So if that's not my thing, I'm not going to cover it. Y'all can cover it. I'm not going to cover it. All right? But having said that, I want to make it abundantly clear. I don't think they're going in the right direction with James Gunn. I don't care what story. It might be a fantastic story. James Gunn's just not the guy for the job for several different reasons. So that's just what I think. That's what I believe. I could be wrong, and I would like to be wrong. I don't mind being wrong, but that's what I think. Now, with respect to Free Palestine, we got so much stuff to cover, so I will not be able to cover all this stuff right now. It's just time is ticking away way too quickly. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cover some salient points, and we'll have to cover this some other time. All right, let's go to this. First of all, Suppressed News says, Justin, Israeli Minister of Finance Bezalel Smotrich, he says, I will not sign any deal that allows the release of Palestinian prisoners, an exchange deal, even if it costs me the end of my political fate. Basically, he doesn't want a peaceful exchange of prisoners. He doesn't want a ceasefire, even though this has been done before. It was very successful because, well, you'll see. I'm not going to tell you more. Let's just get to it.
It's happening around BLM time. Now, 3-4 years later, I've sat on this for a while because I don't particularly want to lose my job. As a doctor in the NHS, I've always stood against racism. I've stood against sexism, against misogyny. I remember in my second year of working on obstetrics and gynecology, a midwife walked into the staff room. She said, "Have you seen that patient's husband? He's as black as that bin bag." And I remember being horrified. I remember standing up and everybody was silent and saying, "Did you just say that?" She said, "I didn't mean it in a bad way. I mean, that's literally the case." I left the staff room and I told her, "I can't be in the same room as you," after you said that and justified it. I remember chasing the matron. I remember forcing a meeting where the matron told me, "Oh, the midwife, she's really good. She has lots of black friends." I remember this happening around BLM time. Now, 3-4 years later, I have a senior approach me to tell me that I was talking about Palestine to another colleague and somebody overheard us and it made them uncomfortable. Now, I've been quite quiet about the genocide and about Palestine at work, because our workplaces in the NHS, our hospitals, have urged us to not talk about it, to not show solidarity in the form of lanyards, pins, or anything, and to not take sides. And we know there's no sides in a genocide. There's no sides in the face of 15,000 Palestinian children being murdered by the Israeli occupation forces. We know that actually our silence now means that we're silent in the face of hospitals being bombed. We're silent in the face of 500 medical staff being killed by the Israeli occupation forces. We're silent against a theatre nurse, a Palestinian theatre nurse, being sniped whilst he was operating in theatre in Al Nasser Hospital. And if we're silent against this, we're setting a precedent. Where this genocide in Gaza and on the Palestinian people ends, this is where anything beyond that will start. How will we say don't bomb hospitals after this if we can't say it now? How can we say don't murder medical staff who are literally saving lives if we can't say it now? Or are we going to be able to say it if it's happening in the West or if it's happening to white people? I would want my colleagues internationally and in this country to say no and to stand against it if this was happening to me and to my patients. I would want there to be an uproar in the medical community internationally against these war crimes and against the systematic targeting of the healthcare system that we're seeing in Gaza. 36 hospitals. You cannot just bomb this many hospitals. You cannot watch patients dying from injuries that we are able to manage day in, day out. You cannot watch medical aid be stopped by Israel and not be able to be received by Palestinians and not say anything. How will we ever be able to say no to that? Because do we think it's just going to happen to Palestinians and it just won't happen again? Now, I was told by my senior that what I said made whoever complained about it uncomfortable. I was told I didn't say anything wrong. The interesting thing is I've had discussions about Palestine with my Jewish colleagues who are pro-Palestinian, who are against what's happening, who also want to see the end of the occupation, who want to see the dismantling of Zionism. The anti-Semitism in the NHS, weaponization of that is very tired and very old, because we see our Jewish colleagues, we see our Jewish comrades saying, not in my name, do not weaponize my religion in order to justify this genocide. By being told to be silent, the only people that we're really benefiting are Zionists, the people who stand with the Israeli occupation forces as they commit these crimes. I don't think that I could be a doctor, I could be myself, I could want to do good in the world and be silent about this. These are
Good.
discussions we're having with colleagues.
This is a very important point. They want you to be complicit in a genocide. And it's not just Israel, it's Zionists, and Zionists are not just Jews. It's very important. Very important. And you know, Donald Trump almost, he dodged the bullet. But like everyone has been saying, the Palestinians are not dodging the bullet. The atrocities done to them are just incomprehensible. And Israel is getting away with it. So let me just re-emphasize a certain point. But first, let me start off by showing you guys where this comes from. All 90 AIPAC endorsed Democrats have won their primary so far this cycle. Being pro-Israel is a good policy and good politics. 100% AIPAC endorsed Democrats have won their primary race this cycle. AIPAC's the problem. The Israeli lobby in America is the problem. Why these guys have been bought, these politicians. I'm going to show you a couple examples, and then I'll tell you the solution. The solution is very simple. Okay, so we're going to look at the AIPAC tracker, and here we go. Jimmy Gomez, U.S. Representative for Democrat for California. He got $154,623 of AIPAC money. David Kim is going up against him. And by getting donations from you guys, you can have him, and he's making an appeal here, you can have him overthrow this goon. The dude's a literal stooge, Jimmy Gomez. He's just like what we call a crapo. He's just a guy that's there to take up space. He's a yes man for them. All right. Let's keep it going. Bob Casey, U.S. Senator. He's a Democrat, Pennsylvania. Almost $1 million he received from the pro-Israel lobby. Excuse me. Let's keep it going. Debbie Weiserman Schultz, who should be somewhere here. She received a ton of money again from AIPAC. Running against her is Jen Perlman for Congress from Florida. Support her and take down Schultz. President Joe Biden has gotten $11 million, over $11 million in AIPAC money. This is why they control people. Let's keep it going. This is the lady, Debbie Wiseman Schultz. She got almost $1 million in AIPAC and Israeli lobby money. Listen to Jill Stein. Jill Stein says AIPAC should have registered as a foreign agent and should be banned from spending money to influence U.S. elections. AIPAC spending has drowned out debate and brought a U.S. government that's aiding and abetting genocide. Debate 2024. I don't have time to really go into this in more detail, so I'm just going to say this. Dr. Jill Stein, she's actually a descendant of Jews. She has Jewish ancestry in her. And she knows very well, and there's a video down below that talks about this. Bernie Sanders doesn't have the balls to part ways with Joe Biden and stand up and join ranks with Dr. Jill Stein. Dr. Jill Stein is against genocide. She's always been a civil rights activist. She's always not taken special interest groups' money. She's also for the end of the war in Ukraine with Russia and not NATO, not escalating to bigger things. She's against, of course, what's happening in Palestine. She's also for the Native American peoples, that they get repatriations properly, or for the people who have been through slavery, that they get repatriations as well. So she's very, very radical. Robert Kennedy Jr., he's a sellout, okay? He dealt with the pro-vax thing, but Jill Stein actually covers pro-vax even better. She also is pro-green, about greenhouse stuff and all that kind of stuff, and also about nature and getting things back to that, clean energy, that kind of thing. So she's really somebody that you guys should back. If you're a Democrat, back Jill Stein. If you're a Republican that doesn't want Trump, back Jill Stein. If you're one of those Republicans, whether you're in Kentucky or wherever you may be, that you like Donald Trump, but you don't like that he's associated with taking AIPAC money because you understand about Palestine and you know the truth of the situation, and you guys are also about a free society that is not managed by big government, then you need to back Jill Stein. I don't agree with all her policies, but out of those two guys running, who are just as evil as each other, she is a clear choice. Aligning with her a little bit is Cornel West. You're going to have people like OAC and all these people who are Democrats will come across to support her. Bernie Sanders, all these people will support Jill Stein. What we need you guys to understand is that's the choice. It's not Robert Kennedy. He don't got it. Jill Stein's the one. She is an option on the table. You guys need to support that option. Find out about the Green Party and all the candidates. Also, find out about the Democrats who are not taking AIPAC funding. Let me go through a couple more of these people who take AIPAC funding. Jim Himes has taken Israeli lobby money, $76,000. Alicia Slutkin, who's another Democrat, she has taken $543,000 from the pro-Israel lobby. We got Mundair Jones, who's taken $245,000 from the Israeli lobby, or $246,000. He's a Democrat. On the Republican side, we have Mike Lawler, who took $202,000. You guys have been bought out, okay? Joe Biden's also taken money from the oil lobby. Brian Mast was a former IDF soldier, and he received over $600,000 from the Israeli lobby. Running against him will be, I'm trying to find the guy who's running against him. There's a guy that's running against him, but I can't remember. He might be able to take him down. Okay, so there's a lot more I have to say. Oh, the J.D. Vance, he's a Republican senator. He took $167,000 from the pro-Israeli lobby. I could say a lot more, but I just want to summarize it and wrap it up with this young lady who
see what you can get to try to take that foot off your neck. And if at some point, one of the things the sister said was, if a foot is on your neck, you got to do everything you can to get that foot off your neck. Right? At one point, you're like, please get the foot off my neck. Please, please, please. Then there's a moment you start to say, hey, you got to get that fucking foot off my neck. And then at some point, you starting to reach around you to see what you can get to try to take that foot off your neck. And if at some point, this is where I'll probably try to end. If at some point you, the person watching and witnessing, does not help the person who has the foot on their neck get the foot off their neck, you have no right to talk about how they ought to resist the foot on their neck. It is not your job to tell somebody how to resist. So that means it's irrelevant whether or not you agree someone should fight violently or non-violently. The issue is that Palestinian people have a foot on their neck. One of the things the sister said was, if a foot is on your neck,
Now, what's important about that is that's a George Floyd actually anecdote. When the police officer had his knee on George Floyd's neck, choking this motherfucker out, y'all as civilians, if you're an armed civilian and you know that a police officer is doing an active crime, it is your duty to begin a citizen's arrest. If you have a licensed firearm, you're supposed to point that licensed firearm at the officer and say, stand down, officer. Get that fucking foot off that man's neck, and we got to arrest you. This is a citizen's arrest. If you're in Texas or one of those places where people have open carry, they can't fucking do that shit just like that. Okay? An officer can't just do that. Okay? Now, the reason why people are able to do this shit in the blue states is because most blue state people don't have open carry and they don't carry weapons. Most of them just watching her and they spectate and they may say something. The other officers that were just standing by, that shit ain't gonna fly in Texas. That shit ain't gonna happen in a country where people carry open carry. Now, while I believe in gun control laws, like you should have a licensed firearm, etc., I'm being straight with y'all. If you have a weapon that you're carrying along with you for your defense, and you see somebody being taken advantage of or bullied, you can intervene. Now they will say, "Oh, you are you're interfering with the investigation, and that's called obstruction." But sometimes citizens need to take stuff into their own hands. Again, something called civil disobedience. Guys, get familiar with that term. Civil disobedience. When the laws are oppressive and being used as they are not intended, and they're being used in the wrong way, it is now in the hands of civilians, like our veterans, like our like people who carry arms, to ensure that the law is carried out. If the people who are assigned to uphold the law are not upholding the law, just like what happened in the Supreme Court with an illegal, they made into law something that's illegal. It's against the Constitution of the United States of America, where a president cannot be tried for crimes because no one is above the law. And again, where unconstitutionally recently, another MAGA supporting and sympathizing judge broke the law again. It is within the citizens' power to civilly disobey any law that is unconstitutionally formed, any law that is illegally formed into existence to support a special interest group in a democracy. So I want you guys to understand that and to grow some balls and don't just go with what is being done around you. While I disagree with anybody shooting Mr. Donald Trump and trying to execute him, I don't care who they are, I do fully agree that citizens can arrest someone in what is called a citizen's arrest, and citizens can civilly disobey publicly a law that is against the interest of the citizens and the population of a country. And they can do so however they choose. If they choose to do it violently, which could result in a civil war, if they choose to do it peacefully, is up to the citizens. But civil disobedience has its place in society so that the law and the intention and the spirit of the law would be upheld. What they're doing in Palestine, as several people have stated now, is what they will continue to do as precedent if they get away with this. If Israel gets away with this, this will be a precedent. We already saw George Bush get away with unprovoked invasion of Iraq without just cause. We'll call it preemptive strike. And that has become something that is now common in the world today. If Israel gets away with a public, horrific genocide of a people in Gaza, if they get away with this, just as how the police officers got away with on the television screen, killing George Floyd in public view, then the war on terror is over because the terrorists have won. These people have no interest in people having freedom of expression and the freedoms that we have in a democracy. In fact, they don't care about the democracy. And this is something you guys need to understand. I am Christ, I am disciple. I've said enough. I got to get out of here. You guys have a good one. God bless you all. Peace.
Was 10% Jewish. By 1937, it was a third Jewish, and by 1948, it was half Jewish, and then 3 years later, it was 9. I'm from London, descended